something rather interesting happened in between the last stream I did and this one. And that's that the Censored Man account on Twitter, which has almost 1 million followers, it's a very large account. The Censored Man on Twitter released some information that, I don't 100%. I don't know that this is true, okay? I want to be very careful. Allegedly, all this information is true. I don't know that this is true. I don't have confirmation. All I have is that the Censored Man on Twitter has put this information on Twitter and has said they have 4 Daily Wire employees as sources. And so we're going to read this and we're going to look at, a response with kind of Candace's interactions with this. And we're just going to see, you guys know, I don't tell you what to think. I just give you information and then you have to decide what you think for yourself. And that's what we're going to do. I'm not going to tell you what I think about this. I'm just going to read this tweet and then maybe you guys can tell me what you think about it. Okay. Let's start off. Bombshell leak. Candace Owens was fired for saying Christ is king. 4 Daily Wire employees, all Christians, have approached me. Their identities will remain anonymous for safety reasons, and leaked important information about an impromptu town hall that Jeremy Boring, the CEO of the Daily Wire, hosted the day of Candace's firing. Remember, guys, Jeremy Boring is the guy that in the Twitter space that Lauren Chen did the other day, I got him to flat out say that the Daily Wire will not hire anyone that is critical of Israel. That is the litmus test. It doesn't matter if you are otherwise perfect and overqualified and the next Jordan Peterson and will make the Daily Wire millions and millions of dollars. It doesn't matter. If you are critical of Israel, you do not have a job at the Daily Wire. Jeremy Boring sent an email to all Daily Wire employees inviting them to an impromptu town hall in Candace Owens' studio. The town hall was led by Boring, with Andrew Klavan repeating many of the corporate talking points on his show the next day. And I believe that Andrew Klavan's talking points are what Lauren is reacting to in this video. So we're going to see those. The 4 employees told me that the town hall attempted to brainwash the employees present into believing that Candace was, in fact, an anti-Semite. They view it as an extreme form of damage control to scare and prevent employees from speaking out against against Owens' firing later that day. The feeling was that they didn't just want her gone. They wanted everyone to hate her like Ben does. It was straight up propaganda. These subjects were brought up during the town hall. Candace's repeated use of Christ is King as was deemed anti-Semitic, dating back to November when a meeting with Ben Shapiro was leaked. In the meeting, he badmouthed Owens for not being overtly pro-Israel. A clip of Nick Fuentes chanting Christ is King was played. This expression made Shapiro particularly angry, and since Fuentes was deemed an anti-Semite by the ADL, it was used to suggest Owens was an anti-Semite by association. A clip from Owens on Fresh and Fit was played, where a ka-ching sound was heard in the background. This was an attempt to associate her with the stereotype that Jews love money. The employees also told me that Ben had been bitter in his attitude towards Candace as her show was outperforming Ben's and was much better received. Some employees are planning a lawsuit against the Daily Wire, feeling intimidated and threatened by the meeting, and also because of what they believe is an attack on Christianity by the company. They felt the phrase Christ is King was seriously deemed to be anti Semitic by Boring, Clavin, and Ben. It was Candace's repeated use of the phrase, along with her not being overtly pro Israel, that ultimately led to her firing. After hearing this, no Christian or anyone with general morals should have a Daily Wire subscription or support the company in any way, shape, or form. It is clear that Christianity is under attack at the Daily Wire, with Christian employees feeling so intimidated that they are actually consulting their lawyers. This is totally unacceptable and must not be supported. Candace Owens did nothing wrong. Of course, those last couple lines were just, pontifications. And then we have Keith Woods as the top comment, saying he's quoting the tweet from above. A clip of Nick Fuentes chanting Christ is King was played. It was used to suggest Owens was an anti-Semite by association. Interesting. That might explain this. And then he quote tweets Candace. And Candace is responding to the space. So Candace has listened to the space, which I think we all knew, but okay. Candace responding to the Twitter space that Jeremy Boring was on with us says, it was very clarifying for me to hear Jeremy say that he watches Nick's show often. It made a lot of sense to me. What did I say the day after that Twitter space? What was one of the things that I tweeted the day after that Twitter space? I can go back and find it if people don't believe me, but you can also just look. One of the things that I said about that Twitter space was what we learned is that the Daily Wire is terrified of Nick Fuentes. They are terrified of Nick Fuentes. The fact that Jeremy Boring was on that space to begin with says that they are terrified of Nick Fuentes. The fact that Jeremy Boring in that space admitted that he watches Nick Fuentes on a regular basis, they are terrified of Nick Fuentes. The fact that they have all of their hosts mobilized and the entire conservative establishment is mobilized against one 25-year-old that literally does his show out of his mom's basement with a green screen. They are terrified of Nick Fuentes. That's extraordinary. They are so terrified of Nick Fuentes that they used a clip of Nick Fuentes saying Christ is King to associate him with Candace Owens saying Christ is King so that they would have an excuse to fire her. One of their presumably top performing shows. So this wasn't a business decision. This wasn't about money. We all know what this was about. And so it will be really interesting to see if this lawsuit actually materializes and if more information comes out about this. But to be honest, this sounds, as someone who worked in corporate for a while and consulted on these types of things, this, by the way, if the Daily Wire had hired me to be an organizational psychologist, which of course I would never have accepted that job, but I never would have recommended they do this. This was a really bad effing idea. Nope, you do not struggle session your employees. This is always going to backfire on you. And if they had hired, they should have probably hired someone like me to tell them this, because the fact that, the alleged fact that 4 Daily Wire employees leaked this information to a Twitter account with almost 1 million followers tells you exactly why you don't struggle session your employees. Don't do that. Bad idea. But good for us, because now we have more information about what's going on, and I like that, and we all like drama. So take it for what you will. Apparently, Candace Owens was literally fired for saying Christ is king. How do the Christians in the chat feel about that? Like, I don't really care either way. I don't, it doesn't make any difference to me. But, like, how do the Christians in the chat feel about that? For real. How do you guys feel about the fact that the Daily Wire is saying that saying Christ is king is anti Semitic? Let me know your thoughts.